Okay. Good evening. I'd like to begin by wishing a happy birthday to Mam. So saying gesund. Mam is close to being an octogenarian. Meves Mishana. Yeah, we went out to eat tonight. The restaurant. The only one who finished the steak and French fries was my mother. Everyone else they had the doggy bags. My mother's pounding that without a blender, mind you. Okay, so saying gesund. She's really amazing. Hashem is good. Halavai Vaita. Okay, today's daf is Hesh, you're muted for a reason. Daf Lamed Amid Beis. Daf Lamed over is up to the Mishnah. Again, it's in the Masechta Yevamot. It's really a sugya in Gittin. It's really a Gittin dika sugya. It's a sugya very much in suffix kedushin suffix. Again, it's an interesting sugya. It's not a Yevamot dika sugya, but nonetheless, it's difficult. Okay, so let's begin. The Kulan, the Mishnah says the Kulan does all the tesvav. All the tesvav aroyos mentioned in the first Mishnah in Masechta, Shahaya ben kedushin or gerushin besafik, that the kedushin was besafik or the gerushin besafik. Hareelu had sarois cholzus lamis yabmais. In other words, if there was a suffix in the erva, suffix whether she was an erva or suffix whether she was a divorced erva, in that situation, that Sarah won't get the patur of Sarah's erva outright, right? You won't get the patur outright, but you'll give chalitza. So again. The classic case, Tesvav Aroyos, you have it Sarah. In a normal scenario, that Sarah is pata from Yibum and Chalitza because the relationship, since you can't be miyabim the erva, you can't be miyabim the Sarah. So here the situation is, A, you're mesupik if kedushin whether she was at Sarah in the first place, meaning whether the erva was at Sarah, or B, you know she was at Sarah, you don't know if she still was at Sarah. So those are the two sfeikos over here. Says the Gemara, Ketzad. Well, how exactly Safek Kedushin? What exactly is the case of Safek Kedushin? So there's the Gemara describes that the Chachamim attacking guys Dalet Amis. The person has Dalet Amis. Dalet Amis b'Shus Rabim, but it's really Tzidei b'Shus Rabim. On the side of B'Shus Rabim, you have 8 Amis Mitzutzamos. 4 is yours and 4 belongs to her. You throw a kesef or a shtar. That's mesupik where it landed. If it landed in yours, she's not mekudeshes. If it landed in hers, she is mekudeshes. Again, this is a sugya in Gittin. The sugya in Azayrik, right? So you mesupik where it landed. So it says in that case, right? Safek kedushin, zehu safek kedushin. That's the case of safek kedushin. That is the case of safek kedushin when you went and threw it. Says Gemara, safek gerushin. Now, guys, what would safek gerushin be? If I'd ask you, right? If you just did this Gemara, what would you say safek gerushin would be? Transferia, right? You threw a get. Right? Okay, it doesn't say that, right? And now it doesn't say that. What it does, it lists 3 cases, and it's kind of muddy, it's kind of strange, because in the 3 cases, it's either she is divorced or not divorced, not whether it's a get or wasn't it a get. For example, with there's 3 cases, again, this also is a Marin Gittin, that a husband gives a kosav ksav yadoy, it's written in his handwriting. There's no edim chasima, there's no edim that are signed on this shtar, on this get. Yesh lav edim, you have edim ve'im by zman, it doesn't have a zman. Or yesh by zman ve'im by ela eid echad, only has 1 eid. Zeu safek gerushin. That is safek gerushin. We're going to spend a large part of the evening why they didn't just go ahead and give the corollary case of kedushin to gerushin, that you threw a get and it's some safek, whether it landed in her dalan amis or your dalan amis. Because really, this guy's is a good get. This is a good get. They were machmir. It's not min amufcha, the lashon of Rashi, and it's psul d'Rabbana, but it's a good get. In other words, if a woman would get married based upon this get, right, the children from the second marriage would be full-fledged yidden. They'll be ksherim. They won't be mamzerim. It wasn't like what that the second husband's living with an ashes ish because she was divorced outright. So it's kind of funny that we call this a suffix get. It's kind of funny that we call this what a suffix get. Take a look at Rashi in the Mishnah. The first wide line, Kasab Ksav Yado, the Kaimlon, Hotziel Ksav Yado, Shu Chayev Loy, Goiv Min Chasam Bnei Chayrin, you would collect from properties that are not Meshuba, that are not sold. Alma Ksav Yado, Bloyedim Milsi, it's something. Okay, go through each one. The main thing I wanted, Gimel Gin Psulin, 3 lines down. Gimel Gin Psulin, these get an apostle. Then, however, Nisas, if you do go ahead and marry based upon these 3 gittin, Havlat Kasha, the Vlad from the second marriage will be a Kasha, not a Mamzer. The Eluhain, Kasam Ksav Yadai, Zman, Edim. No. V'hachanami chayleses soirasa. Here you would go ahead and give chalitza to the tzara. Now, guys, if this is a good get, you should be able to go ahead and do yibum to the tzara. If this is a good get, then the tzara was not a tzara's erva, and you should be able to do yibum, correct? Right? Hachanami chayletzes tzarasa. Why? Even the gitahu, the imnisas of adkasha. Since if you would go ahead and get married, right? It would be a mamzer. Obviously, this woman's divorced. So you give chalitza. So the obvious question is, well, then you should be able to do yibum. Then you should be able to do yibum. But let me see why. Even the lav gita ma'al yahu. Since it's not what a great get, the kari lahu psul lechatchila, because we call it pasul lechatchila. It's pasul to use this, but if you use it, she's divorced. So, since it has the capacity to go ahead and divorce, Memela, she's not at Saras Erva that what? She's not at Saras Erva completely. So you give you Chalitza. On the other hand, you can't do Yibam because you shouldn't have done it in the first place. Hilkach, Isharisle, if you do mata this woman without anything, Armi Inshi, Saras Erva Misya Bemes. You're going to go ahead and say that what? Saras Erva, if you're going to go ahead and give a Yibam, right? So in other words, we're worried. Like this. Okay, so guys, it comes out like this. Outside, guys, very important. Just understand the meat of the sugya. Really, she should. Once you tell me that this is a good get, she's not the tsaris erva. She's not. She's not. She is not. So why in the world can't the brother of the dead man do yibum? And the answer is not everyone's such a lamdim. They're gonna think it wasn't tsaris erva because the get wasn't such a good get, and therefore it may lead in the future to do yibum to a real tsaris erva, which would be that would be a chi of kares. So to avoid that, we don't let you do yibum over here, even though she's not a tsaris erva mamish, because the get in fact ended any connection between her and the tsara and the erva. And the erva, that's complete. Okay, so the reason you're doing it is only so. So
that means you're doing it. On one end, you're being on the side of the get. You're saying you're gonna accept the get because the lady. But to make a new marriage, you're not gonna.
We're not gonna let her be the yibum. She can get.
Right, that's a new marriage. That's a new transaction.
No, again. This is there a mitzvah of yibum here or not? That's the shaila. Nothing to do with transaction. Is there a mitzvah of yibum here or not? If she's at tsaras erva, there is not. If she's not at tsaras erva, there is. If it's a get, she's not at tsaras erva, right? We're dealing not with the woman who got the get, Yankel. We're dealing with the tzara. We're dealing with the tzara. So the tzara question. So now, it comes out like this, guys. There's two types of chalitzas. There's Lefi ani estaiti. There's a chalitza that it's mutter to do yibum, and you should do yibum, but you don't want to. That's the chalitza that takes the place of yibum. And then there's a default chalitza to go ahead and we nichnas any suffix just to take care of any issue that would came up, right? We said that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri came up with this great eitzah. Because of that humongous universal machloikis between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, whether it's service erv is mutter now. Beis Shammai said it's mutter, which would make mamzerim according to Beis Hillel. What do we do? Give chalitza. It covers all bases, right? It's going to matter. If she needs heter, it's going to heter. If it doesn't need it, it's no big spitz, nothing, right? So that's a type of chalitza. Chalitza, default chalitza, that even though there's no reason to give chalitza, why? Because no tzaras erva, right? So therefore, what is there yesh v'yesh? By the kedushin over here, we're giving the first chalitza. By the second one, we're giving really the second chalitza because really she could get yibum. The second one she could get yibum. The only reason doing it is because we're geyser at the what a real tzaras erva. Okay, so now the big question now is why by gerushin did we not learn the same case? Why don't we say by gerushin you threw it? Now mashma guys, that if you would do that the same case by gerushin, she would be what? She would be permitted to do yibum. Says the Gemara. The ilu begerishin safik karav loy katani. My timer amaraba isha zu becheskes heta. This isha is becheskes heta, that she's what? Right? That she's at tsaras erva and doesn't need chalitza. Guys, before we begin the sugya, we have two women over here, right? Shimon, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven's got two wives. Shimon has one wife. who happens to be the sister of Reuven's wife. Or Reuven is married to Shimon's daughter. Reuven married his niece. Okay, guys. Reuven married his niece. Now, this relationship, guys, Reuven is married to two women. The daughter of Shimon, and it's Sarah. So this woman now is in the Cheskes what? Is she Yivam L'Shuk or is she free? She's free. She's free. Good. So when we have a suffix, we have this rule of thumb. When you have a suffix and you don't know what to do, Uki al Cheskasa, leave it on its chazaka. What was her status quo before? What was the status quo before? A status quo that she's a free woman. She was at Saras Erva. So what are you going to do now? You're going to go ahead, take the get, and throw it. It's a suffix. You're going to say that what? She's not at Saras Erva. So that's why in that case she'd go free, and that's why we didn't count it in the Mishnah as requiring chalitza. She doesn't require anything because the chazaka is she's a free woman because she's a full. We know for sure that she's a tzaras erva. We know for sure Reuven married his niece Shimon's daughter. So we know this tzara is a tzaras erva. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now what happens? Suffix whether Reuven divorced her or not. What are we going to do? As the suffix, we're going to say go ahead what and give chalitza. Why not? Why should you? The chazaka says that what she doesn't require anything. As I afraid the Gemara. Now. The other way around, guys. The other way around. She's not Mekudeshes. Reuven has a wife, guys. Reuven has a wife. He's now Mekadesh's niece. And it's a suffix whether what? Whether it was Kedushin or not. If it was Kedushin, the Tzara is a Tzaras Ereva. If it wasn't Kedushin, she's a Yevamot L'Shuk. She is Mamish, a Shemeres Yavam. So she's in a Chazaka, the opposite. She's in a Chazaka of being Shimon. Until you ascertain whether Reuven was married to the niece, the Tzara, it was the wife of Reuven, she's falling to Shimon. So that's the other chazaka, the other way. Says the Gemara. Let's see what we got. The ilu begerishin safek karaloi safek karav law. By gerishin, again, if he throws a get within the dalet amis, you don't know who it lands, in his or hers. Loi ketana, you don't learn. In other words, that case, guys, would not be a case of chalitza. My timer, why wouldn't you give chalitza? Amar Rabba, isha zu becheskes hetel l'shukay medes. This woman, the Sarah of the of Reuven, is in chazaka that what? She's free to the street because she's a Tzaras Erva. Umisafik at the bola Israel. I'll test her enemy suffix. Don't ask her all suffix. Keep her on a chazaka. Guys, how we doing? We good? Now, Amalei Abaya says Abaya, Ihachi, if you're keeping these on the chazaka, the kedushin nami nema. By kedushin as well, say Reuven's wife. Guys, Reuven's wife, right? Reuven, again, he only has one wife now. He has only one wife. That wife is now a zakik to Shimon. And now what are you going to do? I'll suffix to what? That maybe Mekudeshes the niece, and now it's a Tzaras Erva. You're going to what? Say she's mutter to the street? At the bola Oisrei, you want to go ahead and asera? To what? To Hayavam? Not mutter to the street. Asra on Hayavam? Misafik? So l'chayra, but we say we do. We say you need to give chalitza. So you're playing two sides of the fence. If you can be uki al cheskasa, I don't understand why you should need what? Chalitza. You should let her marry. You go ahead and let her marry what? Shimon. Let Shimon, after Reuven dies, let Shimon perform Yibum. Just as the case with Gerushin, where if you go ahead and throw it, you're saying that what? That she is a Saras Erva and she's free. Okay, you hear the cheshbon. Says Hasam l'chumra. It's chumra. Really, you're right. Really, Shimon should be Miyabein Reuven's wife. The Tzara. The Chazaka says that Reuven's wife falls to Yibum, and really you should. But we're making a chumra and saying you can't. Now, a chumrah has to be limited to the model of the chumrah. It can't go ahead and lead to a kula. A chumrah that leads to a kula, we won't allow. Fred the Gemara, hi chumrah diaslei kulaha. This chumrah that you're going to say that what? That you have to give chalitza, that you don't do yibum, is going to come to daslei kulahu. Why? The zinin the azalhu umekadosh la'chaisa. He'll go ahead, right? Now again, if you can't perform Yibum, why they say you can't perform Yibum, guys? Guys, fair ice. If you can't perform Yibum, what are you going to say? She must be a tsaras erva, yeah? Guys, listen. This is the key to the sugya. If you're not allowing Reuven a shimon to be yabbing Reuven's wife, it must be that Reuven was married to what the kedushin was typhus, right? Good. That's so good. So now, what happens? This chumrah that you said you give chalitza and you can't do yibum, people are going to say, 1 second. Hi chumri dasle kulahu, because zimnin, since you're not doing yibum, the azalhu, he'll go umagdash lo la'achaysa. Shimon will go and be mekadesh, the sister of the one that was a Safi Kedushin. And we'll say Kedushay Vadai. The Inami, Zimnin, the Asi Echad Acher, a person will come along, another person, not Umagdash Lo Ladida, will be mekadesh the woman who accepted the Safi Kedushin. Now, we're going to say that's a Vadai Kedushin, right? And Kedushay Vadai, the Kivin the Asala Mar Litzara Liyabume. We're going to say that you can't go ahead and do yibum. You can say you do yibum. It's must. You're going to say that you were married to the first one. Amri. We're going to say the kama kedushin. The first one's kedushin was kedushin. Ude basra lav kedushin, and the basra was going to say is not a kedushin. Says Rashi. Ude basra lav kedushin she'eshes ish kidesh, that the second person was mekadesh and eshes ish, because after all that created tsaras erva. The ain't tzrichim menu get. I mean, in the azal he mekadesh lachaysa asil meimal achim isasai kiasrin letzar liyibume. I mean the kamaisa kedushin the rasrais lav kedushin shein kedushin toisen b'achas isha v'se'ena achiv me'imoy. And what will happen? They'll get married and the alma and pagab erva. In other words, the second kedushin was a real kedushin, and you're going to go ahead and say, well, it wasn't a real kedushin, so I'll be able to marry her sister. And no, you weren't able to. So it's a chumrah that can lead to a kula, because people mistakenly are going to think that the second marriage wasn't a marriage, and it really was a marriage. It really wasn't. Guys, listen to this. Here, what? Reuven threw Safek Kedushin, right? Now all of a sudden, what do you say? His wife, Reuven's wife, should fall to Yibum, but we won't let. Good. Now people are going to say, you know why you didn't let? Because she was mamish. Reuven was married. Good. Another man is magdish this woman, the second woman, and people will say, 1 second, that's not a good kedushin. Good, not a good kedushin. Why do they say it's not a good kedushin? Because the first kedushin was kaifus. You were magdish mekadesh neish ish. What? But that now, so anything happens. Let's say Reuven dies, and they'll say, oh, she's a free agent now. She's not a free agent. She's really married to the second guy, and any child from any other marriage is a mamza. So in other words, this tailada of not letting you do yibum because people think because it's tsaras erva can lead to coolest down the line in yuchsin. So that's a problem. Now, guys, it's really a very poor kasha. I'll tell you why. You're not letting this woman totally go free. You're giving a chalitza. So why, if they think the pot is tsaras erva, why are you giving chalitza? The fact that you're giving chalitza should go ahead and overt the question, the possibility that you think that kedushin was typhus by the kedushin and it's the tsaras erva, right? You're giving chalitza. If she's tsaras erva, she's squeaky clean, she's free zist, everything. So for the Gemara kasha, kivin a teretz, kivin the matzur chalitza. Since you're requiring chalitza by the kedushay the rabbanon of the suffix, made the yada the chumra ba'alma. People know it's a chumra ba'alma. Okay, so therefore that's okay. So now, how do we get into this, guys? We asked the question: How come by kedushin we said you threw the kedushin to suffix whose dalat amas had landed in, and by gerushin not? The assumption being by gerushin she would be what? She would be still at tsaras erva because she wouldn't be divorced. So by kedushin also she won't be mekudeshes. Good. We said that's a chumrah. It says now for the Gemara Hachi gerushin nami lisni uletzricha chalitza, right? Umei the yediyah the chumrah ba'almahu. And by gerushin as well. Gerushin as well, say that you require chalitza, because you tell me you don't require chalitza. You can tell me that what she is what is. You're keeping on a chazaka. That she is what she's a tsaras erva. So says Gemara, don't avoid the problem. By chumrah, give a chalitza, and list that as one of the cases. Again, the only reason the kedushin you're telling me the reason you need chalitza is because of the chumrah. So let's go ahead and require chalitza l'chumra by what? By gerushin. And you're telling me gerushin, she's a tsaras erva. Why? Because of the chazaka. What was the chazaka? That she was a tsaras erva, because you know that Reuven was in fact married to his niece. Says the Gemara, Here's the problem. By Kedushin, right, you're worried, by Gerushin, if you say give Chalitza, then the brother may go ahead and do Yibum. In fact, she is what, a full-fledged Tsaras Erva. There's no question that Reuven was married to the niece. Guys, this is Gerushin. You want to divorce the situation. 2 wives. One's a Tsaras Erva and one's an Erva. One's his niece. One's the daughter of Shimon. So what are we worried about? If you go ahead and tell Shimon he has to give Chalitza to Tsaras Erva, he might be miyabing the Tsaras Erva. And you know what that is? That's Eishis Ish, that's Eishis Ach, Shalei b'Makom Mitzvah, and it's a Chi of Kares.
A bunch of cases were opted to do Chalitza in the event that we weren't sure.
Tamata, to say it's mutter, Zakuka, to break a Zika. It's no Zika over here. We have no Shaila, it's Chazaka over here. We have a Suffolk. We have a Chazaka that's been Mevar Suffolk back. What does Chazaka say? She's Tsaras Erva. So what are you giving Chalitza just for what? You're giving Chalitza just in the Rhine, you're giving Chalitza? So you know what? If you give Chalitza, you may come to go out and do Yibum. Guys, you good?
It comes go so far to say that he's going to want to cause his niece to die. That's what he's saying. Yes, he's saying.
Why it's not niece is not dying. The Tsaras Erva. Niece is fine.
By marrying his what? By marrying his niece.
No. He's not marrying his niece. He's marrying the Tzara.
So the Tzara is
Tzarif is Tsaras Erva. We're worried if you give Chalitza to the Tsaras Erva, you may come to be miyabbing the Tsaras Erva, not the niece. Yeah, but not the niece.
No, that's not his niece.
It's not his niece. That's a Tzara. Okay, so now says the Gemara, he knows he can't marry his niece.
I know.
But it's not his niece, it's his daughter. It's
right.
You can marry your niece, you can't marry your daughter. But now, says the Gemara, in Hachanami, guys, so there, what's the obvious question? Let's go to Kedushin. Hachanami by Kedushin. Guys, what's the case of Kedushin? Let's go, guys, what's the case of Kedushin? Outside. Reuven's got a wife, right? And he's got a brother Shimon. And he throws Kedushin to his niece. Suffolk whether they got there or not, right? So let's keep the woman on a chazaka that what she is a Yevamot, the Sarah. Good. Says the Gemara Chumrah. So what? So it's Chumrah. So it comes to it's Chumrah that comes to a kula. It won't come to kula. Give a chalitza. Fred Gemara. Why are we worried by kedushin? If you give chalitza, you may come to go ahead and be mekadesh. What's the answer? So who cares? That's the chazaka that you're supposed to go ahead and be mekadesh on. So what happens if you would be mekadesh to Tsaras Erva? Let's get me on. She's not a Tsaras Erva because there was no kedushin, right? Chazaka said that what she's falling to Shimon. So if Shimon gives chalitza and she does yibum, great. By Gerushin, if she does yibum, it's zicha tzachie of kares. By here you do. It's only chumrah be'alma. Says the Gemara, let it go. Go ahead and do yibum and nothing whatsoever. Again, that was a chazaka in the first place that she fell to yibum. The Tsaras Erva. Says the Gemara, and that's ve'ein b'kach klum a chazaka kokaima. Guys, outside, what's her chazaka? She is the only wife of Reuven. Reuven now is Mekadesh's niece, and it's a suffix with a Mekadushin. The chazaka says that his Sarah goes to Shimon. So if you're going to go ahead and say give chalitz, you make out to the yibum. Investigate Miran, that's very good. Let him do yibum. So therefore, we've got right now we're holding good. The reason why we didn't learn Gerushin is because you make the reason why Safkara Loy says is why is because we put her on a chazaka, and for a chazaka we're not going to ask her. Says the Gemara. So what do chalitza al chumrah? Throw chalitza chumrah? No. If you do, you may come to yibum. So what? If he throws a get, Safkara Law, the chazaka says that what? That she is free to the shuk because Reuven in fact is married to his niece, and he has a tzara. That tzara now will go free. You don't give chalitza gezerah to yibum. Vashenki kedushin, we agree the chalitza, and we're not worried about yibum because if he does yibum, that's the chazaka you're headed for in the first place. Okay, now. Interesting case, guys. You have Reuven is married to 2 women, his niece and a tzara. So she's Vadei Tsaras Erva, good? She's Vadei Tsaras Erva, yeah? Vadei. Now, the house falls, a house collapses on Reuven and his niece. Now, who died first? Who died first? Ah, it's a good kasha, right? If Reuven dies first, she's a tsaras erva, right? If Reuven dies first, she's a tsaras erva. If she dies first, the erva falls to Yibam. So this is a suffix, right? Isn't this similar to suffix gerushin? Gerushin, you're married to two, and the no, the vade did. The vade did. So in other words, this is similar to the gerushin because you have two vade situations, right? The chazaka is that she's this tsaras is tsaras erva, right? And she's free. So now says the Gemara, Eisvei Abaya, Nafal Abaya Salav, Vial Basachiv, and the house falls on him and his niece, this daughter of his brother, his niece, and that's his wife. And he has another daughter. He has another wife, and Baruch Hashem, she wasn't there at the time. The en yedua, and you don't know, Eiz mehem meis rishon. You don't know who died first. So what do you do then? So rasa chaletzas lo misya bemes. The tzara, you have to give chalitza al the tzad that maybe Reuven died first. And so chaletzas lo misya bemes. Amai hachanami nema isha zu becheskes hetel l'shukay medes. The tzara is in the chazaka right of being a Yevamot l'shuk. Again, she's chazaka being a Yevamot l'shuk, right? Because again, it's in fact married. Misafik at the bala oisra al tasani misafik. Why are you asking her? Outside guys, exact same case. Our Mishnah, the inference from our Mishnah. Guys, look. Guys, listen. Said the case of our Mishnah. Kedushin, Safik Karaloi, Safik Karafla. Good. Why didn't we learn the case of what? Of Gerushin. Safik. Why? Because the case of Gerushin, she would be what? Yevamot. She would be free. She'd be at Saras Erva, she'd go free. That's why we didn't learn it. Why? Because her chazaka is that she's free, because she was married, she was at Saras Erva, because Reuven's married to his niece, which is Simon's daughter. Good. So now she's free. You have a suffix. On a suffix, we're not moving over for chazaka. Yet over here, we have the same suffix. Who died first? Did she in fact die first and the Sarah falls to Yibum? Or Reuven died first, right? Or Reuven died first and Mad and not. So therefore, yet we're saying over here, you need chalitza. Why didn't we say keep her on the same chazaka? That she was what? That she was free. Why me suffix? Are we going to ask her? That's the Gemara's kasha. Why you do giving chalitza? It should be the exact same case if you throw a get, suffer karla, suffer karla. Because she was a Taurus erva, misfake at the bola asra, al tasrena, misafik, v'chi tema hachanami. L'chumra, you'll say this chalitza, guys, is l'chumra, and if you're going to say hachanami. This chalitza now, guys, is the chumra diasle kulahu. Why? Shemata oimer chalitza misya bemes. Right? You'll say give chalitza misya bemes. So in other words, the kasha is a stark kasha. What's the difference by the suffix of throwing the get and the suffix who dies first? After the Gemara, gerish in the shchichi, when you throw a get which is shayach, gozbuhu rabbanon, right? That you shouldn't give chalitza, maybe you'll give yibum. Ma poilis l'shchichi, having a place that collapses. Like goes to Barabana. The Barabana are not Goiza. They're not Goiza that if you do Chalitza, you may come to do Yibum. And therefore, they do Chalitza. Therefore, do Chalitza. It's not Shaykh, therefore, now. Inami, you know the terrace. Guys, this terrace is very Londish terrace. Guys, by Gerishin, are both people still around? Yeah. But by my polis, no one's around. Only the Tzara. Good? Says the Gemara. Inami, Gerishin, the Kaimi Erva, the Kamuchach Milsa. That what? That she was a tzara, it's sarasa kamatzachas lachalitza, and they'll say that tzara needs chalitza. Amri komu v'rabbanan megita the gita malyahu v'yaseli yibume litzara. Guys, what's happening over here? Here we have this tzara. Here we have this tzara. She's getting chalitza. People, look 1 second. That they're co-wives. She's an erva. Reuven died. He left his niece in almana. They're falling to the tata. Shimon's the father. They're going to say, and you require chalitza. A lot of people are going to say, Saris erva, you could do yibum. There's not. However, my pilus, where it falls down and collapses upon them, and no one's around. Me kamu b'rabbanim my pilus. The rabbanim were they there underneath to know who died first. In other words, people will clearly know there that the chalitza is al safek, guys. Let's go back to my original premise. Two types of chalitza. Chalitza in b'makam yibum and chalitza just to go ahead and cover all bases.
Everybody heard about the
So guys, watch. So watch. By Gerishim, right? What do you have? Two women. One's a tzaras erva. That we know that for sure. That Reuven's second wife is a tzara of Shimon's daughter. Good. Now, Reuven's dying. What are you requiring of Shimon? Give chalitza to who? To the tzara. What are they going to say? There's no such din as patur of tzaras erva, and they may come to yibum. Which guys, is it Issacharius? It's Eishes Ach. It's Issacharius. That's what's in front of you. Good. That yibum, they're going to say, is the yibum that takes the place of that chalitza. They're going to say is the chalitza that takes the place of yibum, and they'll make a mistake that you could do yibum. Mashenkin over here. Is there any way in the world anyone would say that the Chachamim knew what they did first? So what are the people going to say to give him chalitza? Just to cover all bases. That second default chalitza, right? That's back. That's the chalitza we're speaking about. Cover all bases over here. That's the second chalitza. Right? So that would be a very good hezbollah to the two types of chalitzas over here. Why by one you may make a mistake, give chalitza and do yibum, and why the other one people aren't going to know that. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what happened. People won't mistake that what you do chalitza, you're going to do yibum. They're going to say you give him chalitza because you pasha don't know. Mashenke, in the case of Gerushin, they're going to say you do know, and they're going to say 1 second, tzaras ever you could do chalitza too. Obviously, you could do yibum too. You do yibum too comes out a tremendous churva because that is Issacharius, children of mamzerim. Nothing's good in Klal Yisrael. I told you not easy Gemara, not easy Gemara. Crazy part is that all this is going to not be true. I'm going to have a very easy terrace in the whole thing in the first place, but that's you go through this like this is the Gemara that will make you angry in yeshiva. This Gemara you make you angry. No, you learn and everything, this, that, and the next thing, and then they're going to say the reason why they really could learn Gerushin, but since they learn Kedushin, they expect Kedushin to tell us the din of Gerushin, which is what I'm going to say. It's the exact same din. That's what I'm going to say. Anyway, right now, beholding says the Gemara Vaita. The guy Gerushin Miloi Tanan, that didn't we learn that what the case of giving a chalitza by Gerushin, guys? Right now, to understand the next piece of Gemara, what's the din by Gerushin? If you throw a get, you don't know who. What's the halacha? She goes free without anything. Why? She's a tzaras erva. Yes, you don't need chalitza. Good, good. Now says the Gemara, the guy Gerushin Miloi Tanan, but Tanan, didn't you learn you need chalitza? I say, this Rabim. She's standing with Rabim really on the Tzidei Rishus Rabim. V'zarik law, karav law, megareshes, karav law, and megareshes. Mechza, megareshes, vein megareshes. V'aminon, v'may hilchasa. What halacha that she's divorced? Not divorced. Di kayin hu asurle. If she's kayin, she's asking the masperusha. The ervehi sarasa boy chalitza. V'lo yaminon shemato ay mechaletzes misya bemes. Guys, says it openly. Ni chalitza, we're not worried. And for the Gemara, Ha'itmar Allah, we learned Rabbi Yosef, Damet Shavayu, Hacha B'shtei Kitei Edom Askinon. You're dealing with two groups of Edom. There's 4 people, guys, 2 separate groups. Achas Aimeres Karav Law, and she's divorced. The Achameres Karav Law, and she's not divorced. Davle Sveika Deraisa, which again I don't understand in the first place. It's a Sveika Deraisa because you have 2 Edom saying that she was divorced. And because and Mastis in the Hacha, our mission over here, you only have 2 people. You don't have a complete group of Edom. Bekat Achas. So one says Karav Law, one says Karav Law. Because you don't have a full set of Edom. Okay? So that's the difference. Right now, that's the difference. We're asking the Stira Mishnayos, guys. The Stira Mishnayos. We're saying the fact that our Mishnah only on the case of Safik Karav Law by Kedushin, and not by Gittin, is because by Gittin she would be a Yevamot Shuk based on Mechazaka. We're seeing a Mishnah in Gittin that says, forget about the Chazaka that she wasn't Eishes Ish, right? You throw the get, it doesn't make a difference. Also, you're going to go ahead and give what? You're going to give a Chalitza. And for the Gemara, I'll tell you why. Over there, it was 2 Eidim saying that she was divorced. Over here, there's only 1 Eid. The 1 Eid is only the Rabbanan, 2 Eids the Raisa, and therefore, okay. Now, Gemara, again, I told you this Havamina is very shver to understand this Havamina. You'll see why in a second. So, how do you, our mission over here is speaking only one aid? Right? Dumya the Kedushin, because we're going to say it's not Kedushin. Ma Kedushin b'karachas, it's only one person who witnessed that the Kedushin fell, kar of law, or law, af gerishim b'karachas. Kedushin gufayim imai, b'karachas. How do you know Kedushin itself? There's only one aid to say where the Kedushin fell. Don't the base kitei edim. Says base kitei edim to syabim. If there's two kitei edim, you'll say that she was what? She was a tzaras erev. She was what? And she was to syabim. You should do yibum. Why? Because ibib. This is the case of kedushin. Kedushin go dilma base kitei edim. Base kitei edim to syabim ve'emkachum. Al suffic, right? Let do chalitza. What are you worried about doing yibum? We said if you do yibum, right? Because that's a chazaka. That's what she's headed for. Says the Gemara. First of all, Edim are saying it's close to her, and you're saying to Syabim. First of all, you have two Edim saying it's close to him. You have two other close to her, and that she's Mikudeshes. You have two Edim saying it's close to what? Him. In other words, you have two Edim weakening each other. Why are you saying automatically you believe one over the other? The Su, B'shteki the Edim, Nami Sveikid Rabbanan, who? They're also suffering Rabbanan. Domer Uki Trey, Bahade Trey, Uki Ukma Achazaka. Okay, guys, what's that teretz? Guys, let's eye contact. Eye contact. We have a stira. What's that stira? Our Mishnah, the infants of the Mishnah, when it didn't learn the case of Kedushin, Karav law, is because we put her on a chazaka that she was at Tzaras Erba and she's free. You have a Mishnah here in Gittin that says no, you do chalitza. And for the Gemara, the Mishnah in Gittin is speaking two Eidim, Mishnah here is speaking one Eid. How do you know this Mishnah here is speaking one Eid? Because it's similar to Kedushin. How do you know Kedushin is speaking one Eid? Because if you had two Eidim, you would go ahead and do Yibam. For the Gemara, just because you have two Eidim that say yes, you have two Eidim saying no. In addition, anytime you have two Eidim, they weaken each other, and it's not a din deraisa, it's a din rabbanan. So there's no reason in the world you should do chalitza. We should go put her back on the chazaka of being what? A Yevamot, of being a tzaras erva, and therefore it should free her. So therefore the whole thing. Now, how do you know, guys, 2 versus 2 that you don't? It's a wash. How do you don't believe one over the other? So from famous Gemara Kesubis, right? Anichsei de bar shatya. Midi de have a anichsei de bar shatya. It's like he was called bar shatya because sometimes he was a shaitan, sometimes he was normal. So the question is, he made a kinyan. At which point in time did he make a kinyan? Did he make a kinyan when he was normal or not? It says Gemara, the bar shatya zov in nichsei. He went ahead and he sold his property. Also by treva amri kishu cholim zov, and he sold it when he was healthy, and therefore it's a good kinyan. If you also by treva amri, 2 of them said no, kishu shaita zov, he sold him as shaita. So now, why would it then be? From Ravashi, the final say Ravashi, uki trei lade trei. No, midbeis you establish one against the other. Va'ara ukme v'cheskes bar shatya. And you go ahead and keep the chazaka b'shatya. So who would then over here? You would keep the woman on a chazaka that she's either she's a free spirit. She's Yevamot. She's a Shomeres Yavam because the kedushin wasn't a good kedushin, and therefore we don't understand back to the original. So therefore we don't understand, guys, why you didn't learn the case of Gerushin. Why you didn't learn the case of Gerushin? It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason not to learn the case of Gerushin. You're not worried about anything. There's no reason. Ella, what does Ella mean? Ella, I told my chavrusa today. Ella is the most powerful word in Gemara. It means everything you've done until now. Kaput. Ella, Ella Omar Abaya pasuk in the Yoiv. Yagalav Larayai. Let his friend say about the other friend. In other words, we'll let Kedushin say about Gittin. We'll let Gittin say about Kedushin. So you know why you didn't learn? Because since you learned it by Kedushin, Safik Karla, it's speaking to who not by Gittin. Says the Gemara, Yagla Reya, Tana Kedushin, Vuadin Legerishin, Tana Begerishin, Vuadin Kedushin. Amle Rava, Yagla Reya, my Zodik Tani. What do you mean Zehu? When it says Zehu, Zehu means this is the case and the only case. It means Zehu. Why do you mean Zehu? Look at the Lashon of the Mishnah. Lashon of the Mishnah, right? It says, the Kulisha Ahaya ben Kedushin Gerishim, Sav Garila Chaz Tzaslim. Ketzat Safik Kedushin Kedushin Safik Karvlai Sarla Zehu Safik Kedushin Zehu's Mashma. That's it. Zehu's Mashma. That's it. Not on Gerushin, right? Ella another lashon charata, but much quicker. Alama Rava disagreeing with Abaya. Kol sheyesh bekedushin yesh begerishin. Any halacha bekedushin exists begerishin, including safek karla, safek karla. What about the zahu? V'yesh bekedushin mashein bekedushin. Begerishin v'yesh begerishin mashein bekedushin. What is that? What is that? Those are the three gittin. The zman doesn't exist, right? The zahu the gerishin lav dafka. Alam the tani zahu bekedushin, tani nami zahu begerishin. Okay, so guys, now take a look at the Mishnah. V'kulin shabayan kedushin agerishin besafek hari elu hatzaris choslam b'syavos ketzad safek kedushin safek karla safek karla safek karla so safek kedushin safek gerishin kasa and the three things. In other words, there's something by kedushin that's not by there's anything by kedushin is by gerishin. So therefore, if the safek karla safek karla that by kedushin is this by gerishin as well. However, there are dinim by gerishin that are unique to gerishin, the three things. And the reason why we learned the zehu safek gerishin is what? Is only because for the symmetry of the Mishnah to be symmetrical with the zehu of the kedushin of the Reisha. Good. Now, Fred the Gemara, what is the zehu of the kedushin of the Reisha? Come to exclude, guys. What is not safek kedushin? The zehu kedushin lemutei mai, lemutei zman. It comes to me my zman. The leka kedushin. So by get, guys, there's a din in zman. By kedushin, there's no din in zman. You don't need zman by kedushin. The shtar kedushin, you don't need a zman, and we're going to see why. Why don't we be talking zman b'kedushin? Guys, outside. Why would it be talking zman beget? Why would we be talking zman beget? What? Adam authenticated.
Kedushin, you don't need it because she'll remind you of the anniversary every year.
He goes and dies, and then comes back. So we got-
You know? Huh?
he never comes back.
Okay, famous machlokes in the beginning, second paragraph, guys. Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Paris. When a husband comes into marriage, he brings a woman comes into marriage, she brings property. That property produces fruit, right? The interest, the production that could be either nichsei tzayin barsel if it's in the ksuba, if it's not in the ksuba, nichsei miloy. The husband gets the Paris. You need this. He only gets the Paris the whole time he hasn't divorced her. Once he decides to divorce her, so you need this man to know the cutoff date that he can't go ahead and eat the Paris from the property. A second, it's a fiscal din. The second shot, I forgot who said it, I think it's Rabbi Yochanan says, let me make sure, I think it's Rabbi Yochanan that says it, that in fact, it has nothing to do with money, guys. It has to do with Eris in it. Guys, listen to this. He marries his niece. Good. His niece was Mizana. She's Mechuyev Misa. If there's no Zman, he could say that it took place after I divorced her. He could say it took place after I divorced her. So the Zman is there to make sure that he shouldn't have mercy on what? On his niece.
See, the baby's born.
What happens if there's no baby?
No, but
What happens if there's no baby?
with her, in other case. I'm saying because the Gemara talks about how he has to wait X amount.
Havchana, we're speaking about snus. We're speaking about an affair, an illicit affair. So an illicit affair took place. What's he going to say? He's going to say that, look, he's going to say, well, after all, I was divorced. But if there's this man, you'll know when. So according to Reish Lakish, it's a din in Paris. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's a din in I think I think I got it the right way. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's see the Gemara now. Why don't you need a Zman b'kedushin? The leka b'kedushin. If malay tiklu Zman b'kedushin, hanich l'madiyam mishum peri. Very good according to the Mandiyama, who says the reason why that the Zman beget is because of Paris. Is because of Paris. Arusa less peri. Guys, kedushin is erison. It's not in the suin, right? And the erison, so therefore it doesn't apply at all, and therefore you would not need a Zman. If the whole reason for Zman is to know when you can eat Paris by erison, kedushin there is no Paris anyway. Let the Mandiyam who says the reason why is basa chaysai, that he's going to have rachmanis and say that the get came first. So by kedushin also you should need. And they might say that it took place before, that the snus took place before the kedushin, and she was a peruya and she's not mechuyev misa. So like that sad that this man beget is an arayistic din, you should need it by kedushin as well. If it's a monetary din, it's not applicable. Because why? Because in the Eresin by Kedushin, they don't need Paris anyway. But if it's a din in Arroyos, that the Svara doesn't apply by Kedushin, because you go ahead and say she's off the hook. Why? Because why? She had this illicit affair, this nurse before. Why? Before. Says the Gemara, since there are people in Mekadesh Bekesef, and majority are, as we'll see, And those Mekadosh B'Shtari were Metakin Zman. Only Rav Acha Beid of Yosef Ravashi. For Avda, when you go ahead and sell an Eved, the Iked, the Koni B'Kaspa, Iked B'Shtar, an Eved, guys, is Hukish Lakarka, Kesef Shtar Chazaka, either way. So now, but there, you can do either one. V'tikna Rabbanan Zman, says Mahasam Ruba B'Shtar. Over there, by an Eved, most of the transactions are carried out by a Shtar. Hacha Ruba B'Kaspa. Over here, most of them are carried out with Kesef. And therefore, what? But Kesef is not Shaykh, the Svara Wad of Shem Delhav Rachmanis. Ibai same in other teretz, Mishum Yefsha. Because you can't write a Zman, guys, in the Kedushin. Why? Yefsha. Heichel Ovid. Limcha Gabe Dida. If you're going to go ahead and leave the Shtar Kedushin by her, Mach Golei, she'll go ahead and be Meichikit. And she'll say that the Kedushin took place later, after this nus. Limcha Gabe Didei, Zimna Devasa Chaisahu, and he'll go ahead also fool around with this man. If you can leave it by the Edim, if they remember Zichalein, Leisi Lasada, they're able to say Edis. The Eloi, and if they're not able to go ahead and rain, the only way they can remember is by reading it. Or guys, by reading it, Zimnin the Chaze Miksava, the reader in the Ksav, Yossi Misade, based on what they read, Rahman Amami Piyam, Ksavam. So therefore, okay, says the Gemara, Hachi Begerishinami, name a Hachi, guys. So therefore, just like in other words, you tell me it's a practical thing to not write his man by Kedushin, by Gerushin as well. So the Gemara is a big difference. There's a big difference. Gerushin is to save her heart. Kedushin is to be mechayev her. Guys, what's a chazaka by Kedushin? She's a pnuya. So if she has something, what? So if she has something that's bad, what's going to happen to her? The Kedushin, the shtar is going to make her mechuyev. She's a pnuya. She's a single agent. If she has some snus, it's not a good thing, but it's not going to kill her. But if the shtar, it's going to kill her. Mashen can get. Right now, she's a chazaka of ish. She's dead. The get is there to kill us, so we're not worried about any hanky-panky. Says the Gemara, Ihachi begerishinami, name Hachi, Hasamat, Soli the day. The get is to save her, Katzel Tida, Kasi Hacha, the Chayva Dida Kas. Thank you for listening.